Sony has finally given us a good roadmap of what's to come in the future of PlayStation with their showcase livestream, and boy was it full of great announcements, first look gameplay, alongside a few surprises. So here's our summary of some of the best titles from the event, or at least the ones we think will definitely be worth the hype. We got a proper gameplay first look on Square Enix's fantasy adventure Forspoken, where the lead character Frey looks to be living a troubled life in New York City and looking for a way out. Frey is then transported through a portal and finds herself in the beautiful yet dangerous land of Athea. We've seen Frey scale the scenery in previous teasers, but this is the first time we've had an in-game look at the way Frey explores the land of Athea, and I have to say, it looks phenomenal. The game introduces a unique form of travel with what looks like magic parkour, where we see Frey descend cliff faces, effortlessly launch across rooftops, and swing to unreachable ledges with the help of her magical powers. When it comes to combat, it seems to be that the game is focused on magic abilities. Frey conjures an incredible tidal wave to encase and freeze her foes, shoots targets from her bare hands, and throws water orbs. According to the developers, there are tons of magical abilities to discover in Forspoken. So whether it's the beautiful scenery, the epic story led by the incredible Ella Balinska, or the insane variety of enemy types and magic game mechanics, Forspoken is a game that I personally cannot wait to get my hands on at launch. The release date is currently set to spring 2022 on PlayStation 5 and PC. While we're still awaiting news on the future of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, it seems like there are already spin-offs coming from that same universe, giving us a new type of adventure in the form of Bloodhunt. Bloodhunt is set in the World of Darkness universe. Players control vampires fighting off hunters by using supernatural powers. It is a battle royale take on the vampire universe, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of battle royale games, I think this may actually work really well. So for those of you interested in joining the Bloody Hunt online, the game is actually out now in early access. The full game is meant to arrive on PlayStation 5 later this year. If you've been following leaks and rumors, then you probably saw this one coming. Nonetheless, it was a wonderful surprise from the developers at Insomniac Games to give us not one, but two new Marvel games, starting with Spider-Man 2. On PlayStation blog, Insomniac said, "While pushing the capabilities of the console will be very exciting, we're equally pumped to craft all new stories for Peter and Miles in this sequel. Just as in our previous Spider-Man games, we not only want to tell a great superhero story, but also deliver a compelling human story, one full of heart and humor that dives deep into the people behind the mask." We only got a glimpse of what's to come in terms of the new abilities and suits that we'll get in the game, but more importantly, we have the villain that everyone's been hoping for. Insomniac has officially announced that Candyman himself, Tony Todd, will be voicing the beloved, symbiote-fueled Venom. It also looks like most of the development team from Spider-Man is returning to produce this title, including Brian Intihar, creative director, and Ryan Smith, game director, which is amazing news. Miles Morales' and Peter Parker's journey continues in their most epic single-player adventure yet, which is coming exclusively to PlayStation 5 consoles in 2023. Now, we really couldn't be more excited about this one. Santa Monica Studio finally shared the first real look at God of War Ragnarök. The trailer picks up a few years after the events of 2018's God of War, and according to the studio, while the last game built an enormous amount of trust and understanding between father and son, there is still a great deal of complexity in their interactions, especially after the revelation of Atreus' giant heritage, and the hidden prophecy only Kratos saw. Santa Monica Studios also said Kratos, still bearing the knowledge of his past mistakes, wants to spare Atreus the bloody lessons he learned from his conflict with his gods. He wants to keep his son safe, above all, and their confrontation with Baldur has vindicated the belief that only tragedy will come from further entanglements with the Aesir. Together, Kratos and Atreus will have to make a choice about which path they will take. Whatever they choose will define the fate of all those living in the Nine Realms as Ragnarok approaches. Again, I just cannot describe the sheer happiness of finally being able to get a small taste of the story arc and how the game looks. I definitely cannot wait for the developers to share more as we get closer to the 2022 release of God of War Ragnarök. Now it gets even better, and I hope you're ready for this one, because one of the greatest RPGs of all time is officially back. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is being remade from the ground up, and it's a console exclusive on PlayStation 5 at launch. If you're not familiar with Knights of the Old Republic, you're in for a treat. The game is set over 4,000 years before the events of the original trilogy, and introduced a new story of heroes and villains in an epic struggle for the fate of the galaxy. It is an award-winning RPG of incredible scope, immersion, and ambition, with an epic narrative to match. The game developers Aspyr seem to be working closely with Sony Interactive Entertainment and Lucasfilm Games to bring this groundbreaking title back to life. Aspyr mentioned that our hope is to give both series newcomers and long-term fans an experience that can live alongside the very best modern releases. We're rebuilding it from the ground up with the latest tech to match the standard of innovation established by the original, all while staying true to its revered story. The game is still in early development, so there are no further details or dates yet, but I am confident that now the cat's out of the bag, fans will dissect every small piece of information that will come out until we can hopefully see some gameplay footage next year. And finally, the biggest surprise of the whole event came from the wonderful developers of Insomniac Games again. And an announcement no one was probably expecting, but we're getting a Marvel's Wolverine game. As the developers said, Marvel's Wolverine is a standalone game being directed by Brian Horton and Cameron Christian, who recently led the creative efforts on Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, a game we're extremely proud of at Insomniac. In the vein of our Spider-Man games, our goal here is not only to respect the DNA of what makes the character so popular, but also look for opportunities to make it feel fresh and truly reflect the Insomniac spirit. As the game director highlighted, even though Marvel's Wolverine is very early in development, from what he's seen of the emotional narrative and cutting-edge gameplay, the team is also creating something truly special. So, these are the games that we're super excited for and think they are totally worth the hype. But what do you think? Are there any games that we've missed that you're looking forward to? Be sure to let me know. And with that said, we wrap up this video. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time.